pretend it's you? All right, so we are going to be recording this lesson today. It is going to be about the struggles within Islam, how we're going to have a division. So just like with Christianity, and we're going to see pretty much every world religion is going to have this issue where some people believe one thing and other people believe others. And unfortunately, so often their solution is to murder each other, which is really sad. And this is still a disagreement today where people, unfortunately, still today, you know, we see it on the news all the time. A Shia is bombing a Sunni this, or a Sunni shooting Shias that. It's really sad that in some parts of the world this is still resorting to violence, which is a real bummer. Now, we had 4 caliphs that we discussed yesterday. Now, we didn't get into a lot of detail, but the most important one was the 4th caliph. His name was Ali, and he was Muhammad's son-in-law. Now, Muhammad did not have any sons of his own, but he did have a daughter. And so, therefore, Ali's son, because, you know, married to Muhammad's daughter, would be Muhammad's grandson. And people thought, well, some people thought, well, obviously it makes sense. Let's have Muhammad's bloodline. Let's have his grandson, you know, son-in-law, be one ruler, then grandson, then great-grandson, and keep the family line. Have it be like, you know, kings and emperors and things like that. Where other people said, you know, it doesn't have to be, Muhammad wasn't trying to start a dynasty or anything. He was just going and being the prophet. So it could be other people. So a group called the Shia, or also known as the Shiites, believe that Ali's descendants are the only people who are allowed to be caliphs. All right? Whereas the Sunnis said, you know, you just have to be a good Muslim. We don't care. So they accept what's called the Umayyad Caliphate. So that's why in our song, we say Sunni said Umayyads can, and Shia only followed the blood of Ali. So this is talking about that division within Islam today. Now, today, the majority of Muslims in the world are Sunni Muslims. Shia is a much smaller sect of Islam. Typically, when you think of Shia Islam, just a differentiator is Shia is typically a little stricter, more conservative. When you, and not always the case, but often when you think of the women that are completely covered head to toe and you can only like see like their eyes, that's typically people that are following Shia Islam. Whereas often, you know, regular Sunni Muslim women would just wear the hijab, which would be like the scarf head covering. So that's just one idea how you can differentiate the two in your heads. Now, the Umayyad dynasty is going to rule for a little while, but they're going to get overthrown by a group called the Abbasids. And basically what happened was Islam, as we discussed yesterday, spread between lots and lots and lots of different people. We saw that it was all the way in Timbuktu in West Africa. We saw that it was in Spain. We saw that it was in Persia and India and Indonesia. And the Umayyads had this idea saying, well, to be in charge, you have to be Arab. And the Abbasids said, well, that's not fair. There are Spanish Muslims, there's African Muslims, there's Persian Muslims, there's Indian Muslims, Afghan, there's all these other people. Why should it only be Arabs? So the Abbasids are going to overthrow the Umayyads because they say this isn't fair, this isn't right. So we have 2 big fights right from the start here. We have who should be in charge, either the bloodline of Ali or anyone who's a good Muslim, and then the Abbasids having another argument with this idea that you don't have to be Arab to be a good Muslim. You could just be a Muslim. There, you know, Muhammad didn't say anything about being Arab. He said surrendering to the will of God. And because one of the things that happened is the Umayyad said, well, if Hayden's Arab, he pays less taxes than Zayneh. And that's not very fair. The Abbasids said, no, everyone should pay the same taxes. You know, one of the things they said was, well, since London's Arab, we can give her the best jobs, but not Mikhail because he's not. So the Abbasids go overthrow the Umayyads to make things more fair. And here's the thing, too, which is another going to be a big difference in. The Umayyads, they're the ones that did all that conquering. So from 632 to 750, all that conquest was under the Umayyads. Don't fall asleep, Nora. And When the Abbasids take over, guess what? They focus on trade, scholarship, the arts, art, education, and trade. They build the city of Baghdad, which is going to be one of the most awesome, best cities of the time. And it's going to rock until the Mongols come. And then they're going to literally destroy it, and it never recovers fully like it once was with glory. But at a time, Baghdad was one of the most glorious cities on earth. Don't worry. We'll talk about the Mongols in our next unit. I'm so excited. So, today, we need to make sure we understand two kinds of Muslims, Shia or Shiite, and most people just say Shia, it's easier, and Sunnis. Shia said only blood of Ali. Sunni said Umayyad Caliphate's cool. We have the Abbasids who overthrew the Umayyads because they wanted things to be fair. So this is just showing the difference. I'm not going to test you on like who followed who or any business like that, but you do need to know the difference between Shia and Sunni. Sunni follows the Umayyad Caliphate. The Shia don't. They skip these first three caliphs, and they go straight to Ali, saying he was the only guy who belonged. And then they go and say, well, let's go and have his bloodline. All right. Now, we have this split where some of it lines up. Husayn, Ali's son, is the fifth caliph. But then after that, we have our Umayyads. And over here, we're still going on Husayn's bloodline, Ali's bloodline, Muhammad's bloodline. And here we just see the Abbasid Caliphate. We see that when they make their capital Baghdad, once again, it is in the center of their empire. Because remember, Iris doesn't have text messaging. Jackson doesn't have jet planes to fly places. Lydia doesn't have email. Joel doesn't have his motorcycle. Transportation and communication is tough, so you want to be in center. There's Lydia, and she's got a cool hat. I love it. Oh, I love that hat. It's so cute. And wild hair. Oh, my. I miss you guys in person. Once again, we see the spread of Islam. We see the different time periods, and this was going to be during the Umayyad Caliphate that we have. The Umayyads did the conquering, and then, so they're the conquest part, and then the Abbasids are missionaries and trade for the spread. Last slide of information. I know you had 2 full slides to write down. I'm such a monster. The Abbasids are going to rule for 500 years. It's a long time. They do a good job. It's the golden age of Islam when the Abbasids rule, because we're going to have all of this like art, all of these inventions, all these medical discoveries happening during this time period. But people are going to start saying, why are they in charge? It should be me in charge. So that's how it always goes in history. You know, Zaine says, why are we letting them rule when I could be the boss? So at the same time, a new group of nomads come. And these guys are called the Seljuk Turks. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the Seljuk Turks later on this year. But the Seljuk Turks, think of them as the meanest, toughest, roughest guys ever coming in. And they like meant trouble with a capital T. They came in and they wrecked everybody. Everybody. And why? Because they fought on horseback with bows and arrows. Remember, the Arabs fought with swords. Swords are great to go slicey, slicey, stabby, stabby. It really is. I mean, it's hard to beat that. But it's hard to go slicey, slicey, stabby, stabby if you look like a pincushion because you have arrows through your face. So, because the Turks used horseback archers, they would go basically, they would ride up to where they're in the range, shoot their arrows, then they'd ride away. Lydia would be very frustrated because she's like, I wanted to stabby you, but instead now I look like a pincushion. And so the Turks go and wind up destroying all over the place. But here's the thing. The Turks didn't care about this whole Islam thing. They said, look, you guys can keep on practicing whatever religion you want. We just want to be the rulers. They just want to control the government. And this is where we get one of the coolest vocabulary words ever, Sultan. And you're like, Mr. Kenny, why is Sultan a cool vocabulary word? Because of what it means. It means holder of power. Yeah. So Sultan, just like in Aladdin, you know, the little short white guy, or the short guy with the white like outfit and the big hat, he was the Sultan. Yeah, the holder of power. You know, Jafar wanted to be the holder of power. I love the word Sultan. Its meaning is so cool. That's what they wanted. They wanted to hold the power, and they didn't care about the faith or anything like that. So we're going to see Islam is going to stop being a state-sponsored religion and basically just become people's faith. And this lasts until we get the Mongols, who then come and completely trash the place. Baghdad, which is going to be, we're going to talk about in our next couple lectures, is going to be like one of the fanciest cities on earth. The Mongols are going to come in. They're going to burn it to the ground. They're going to fill the irrigation ditches with dirt. I know. Prince. I love that song. That's my favorite one. I blame Nora for getting me distracted with the Prince Ali song. Anyways, my cherubs, that is our notes for the day. Okay. I hope you learned some stuff, which since you've probably never heard of any of this, surely you at least heard something new.